Welcome to the Edible Valley Podcast.
We want to invite you as we embark on a culinary journey through the heart of Vancouver Island.
All right, let's get into some omelets today. Those are looking good. Hi, good morning everyone. How are we doing today? I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier, and today we're going to go into how to make an omelet. So today we're going to work on a few things. We're going to basically set ourselves up. I'll give you a brief overlay of what we're doing today. To start out, we're going to set up our mise en place to make sure we have all our proper ingredients. Next thing, we're going to do a little reflection on how to prepare the eggs, how to get them ready. Next step, we're going to get into doing the pan and actually getting the egg into the pan, then getting it out with folding it and properly arranging it on the plate, and then do a nice little garnish of some nice orange segments to go along it. I'm going to walk you through all those directions and show you how to do it. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about omelets, because what are omelets? There's a whole bunch of different omelets out there, and we're wondering, what's the French omelet? So basically today we're going to start with the French omelet, which is usually considered to have a nice smooth texture, nice and creamy, still a little runny in the center of it. The eggs were going to be done really quickly in the pan, and basically we're going to just gently fold it out onto the plate, so into a cigar shape. Another type of omelet you might be familiar with, an American style omelet, which is done along the same method, done with a little bit lower heat, and can have a little bit of exterior brown, even though some chefs may fight you on that one. So the egg is cooked all the way through, and then of course ingredients can be set into it, a filling, or can be folded in or become actual part of it. But the real method is getting it cooked solid and then just folding it in half. Another style of omelet they may be familiar with is a fluffy or souffle omelet. A lot of that, what that omelet is you're taking your egg yolks, your egg whites, combining them separately, folding them together, then you're going to start them in the pan, finish them in the oven to have that nice, light, fluffy flavor. Next method might be familiar with is a frittata, or such thing as a Spanish omelet. So the difference is like a frittata is an open-faced omelet, sort of an Italian style of making omelet. You'd saute all your ingredients, add your eggs, and slowly bring it up so it cooks all the way through. Of course, there's lots of other methods of doing like very flat omelets, like thin omelets as in a Japanese method, or even doing a bit of spice. So there's lots of ways to do omelets, but I think to start off, the easiest way to learn omelets is to get into doing a classic French omelet. And let's get to it. Let's start off a little bit. We're going to go into setting up our mise en place, right? Most important part is to make sure that we're prepped, ready to go, and we have all the ingredients we have. So with myself, key ingredients, we got our pan, which we've seasoned, right? So with seasoning the pan, we want to make sure that the pan has a nice coating of oil in it. It's always a trick of mine is I like to heat up my pan and get the oil in there and then cool the pan down, like almost get it to that smoke point, and then put the oil in there and let it cool down. And what it does is the pan opens up and lets that oil in, so it's not going to stick as much. The other key parts of your pan is, if you look at it, we have a nice flat bottom. That's going to make life easier for keeping the omelet nice and smooth and level. And then see how the vent on the pan, how it's vented out there. So what that's going to allow is to let the moisture out. The larger or the narrower your pan is, if it's straight up and down, that's going to trap your steam in there. So what will happen is that when the moisture hits, instead of going up and out, it goes up and then curls back down. So that's one of the tricks we're going to work with today. Now for our key ingredient, we have our lovely eggs here. Of course, we've got an orange, got a little bit of water here, just going to add a little bit of moisture to there. And then of course I'm going to use some butter. A little bit of a tricky thing you can do with butter is, because of butter raw like this, it's got a lot of milk sediments in it still. So when it hits a pan, it could have a tendency to brown, so you have to be a little bit extra careful when you're working with that. So actually, like, clarified butter is actually even better. And as for tools, definitely going to need a bowl. This bowl is going to be for mixing. We're going to put all of our eggs in there, give them a good whisk. Now for whisking it, I'm not going to use a traditional whisk. I'm just going to use a fork, because I want to mix the eggs really well, but I don't want to incorporate a lot of air and foaminess to them. I want them to be just nice and light, but I want them really well mixed. Of course, we're going to have a spatula, high heat temperature spatula, for working with our pan. and of course a cutting board and a knife, just to be able to do our orange little segments so that we're ready to go. So to start off, I'm just going to clear my few ingredients here to the side so I can get started. And since mise en place and preparing and being ready is always the best thing to do, I'm going to make sure that I have my plate ready. So we'll do a nice white plate here, put it to the side, and I'm going to get my orange segments done up first. Because what's going to happen is once I fire my egg in my pan and heat it, cook it, it's going to go super fast. And then I'm going to take a lot of time to be able to get the eggs or to get the orange segments done. So I'm just going to easily take off the ends of our orange because we're working for segments. We want to get all of that pulpiness out of there. That's going to go into our little garbage bin. I'm going to come around with my knife and just going to clean off all of this nice little orange stain, just making sure we get all of that pulpiness off as much as possible. It's not required. It also is going to add a lot of bitterness to it. Sometimes I'll squeeze the juice out of this and use it for something else. So now once we got there, we've got our beautiful orange all cleaned up. We've got all of that off. And what we're going to want to do is get these segments out. So with your knife, in between each segment, you're just going to gently run your knife through there. Now some people do this in the hand. It's always nice to do it on a cutting surface, just because if you slip, this knife's not going to go into your hand. So we want to keep it nice and safe. Nice clean cuts right through our orange. I want to make sure all that segment's out of there. And I'm just going to slowly roll around as I go through this and get nice, beautiful little segments. Now I could keep going on this, but I think what we want to get to is actually the egg part. So now that I've got my nice orange segments connected here, we're good to go. A little trick when plating and working with food, odd numbers. Always easier to go with odd numbers. It's more appealing, it gives more balance on the plate. Give my hands a quick wash there. Next we're moving on to eggs. So eggs, I'm making this really easy. We're just going to do 3 large eggs. Crib here. Trick with eggs, they love to be cracked on a flat surface. A lot of people do a crack on the side of the bowl. That'll sometimes force shell into it. So you actually get a cleaner break if you go on a flat surface. And then you get all of your egg in there. And if you want to be extra costly and use all the product, just giving your finger a little wipe inside the eggs, you'll be amazed how much egg white is in there. We did it one time that we were doing a Mother's Day brunch, and we actually scraped the eggs, just because we had the owner's son doing it, scraped the eggs to get all the egg whites out of there, and we had an extra liter of egg whites to be able to do it. Another trick is if you drop shell in there, using the actual other shell to pick it out makes life much easier. So we're going to get all of our egg in there, like so. I'm going to put this in our handy dandy little compost bucket over here. And now we're set with some nice, beautiful eggs, just ready to go. So I'm just going to take my nice little fork, which I've lost already. Boom. Nice little fork there. Going to go in the bigger bowl so we have a little bit more room to work with. There. So we're going to make sure we whisk this up really well. We want to make sure all that egg is cleaned up. There we go. All the egg white, egg yolk is incorporated together. But we haven't got a nice foamy froth on there, right? That's going to make life a little bit easier. Now, for fun, we got a little bit of seasoning. So I always like to season as I go. So we'll do a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. One thing I might recommend is actually using like white pepper in something like this. Just that way you won't have the little bit of black specks in it. And I'm just going to add a little bit of water because that bit of water is going to add a little bit of moisture. Just going to make it a little bit cleaner. There we go. We got our eggs all mixed up together there. Next, we've got our pan here that we've been heating on, sort of a medium to high heat. So we're just going to get it ready here, and I'm just going to fire a little bit of butter in there. Ooh, we want just enough. This is just going to add flavor and actually make it more flavorful. I probably don't need all this butter, but I'll pull some out. Now with our pan nice and hot, we're just going to fire our egg in there. Get rid of this fork. And I always like to give my pan a good thing. And this is where we're going to start moving the pan and mixing our egg. Because we're basically doing a scrambling in here. And once we get to that point where it's all starting to set a bit, now we just want to stop for a second there. Now, of course, always having a rag handy is the best way to adhere, or a nice kitchen cloth. Just going to flip over that first little bit. There we go, on the pan. And just so everyone can see it. Now this would be if you were doing filling. You could do one of two things. Add the filling in with the egg, or you could actually cook the filling separately, like a ham, like if you want to heat up a little bit of ham. Heat it up and then add it in now. So it just fills up the thing. Also, if you were to put cheese, great time to put cheese in there. So we got this little bit of folding here. We're just going to fold it over like so. And we're just going to form a nice little omelet. Now the goal with a French omelet is to have a nice cigar shape. And of course, nice in the center of the plate. Nice center plate, nice filling. All the ingredients are in there. And then we're going to come along with our orange segments here, just on the back side. And I'm just going to put them all around there, just to make them pretty. And add a little bit of garnish. A little bit of garnish to our omelet. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you've learned a lot. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.